The massive screens in the UN Security Council chamber cast an eerie blue glow across worried faces. No one spoke as they watched the Dominion's fleet move past Mars. Their ships looked like dark diamonds against the red planet, beautiful yet deadly. Earth had 3 days left, maybe 4. Captain James Walker stood at attention, his weathered face showing no emotion as the council members argued. He'd spent the last 5 years of his life preparing for this moment, though he'd hoped it would never come. Behind his calm expression, his mind drifted to the secret hangar deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, where humanity's last hope waited. "We can't surrender," General Thompson said, his fist hitting the table. "We've seen what happens to species that become Dominion vassals. They take our resources, our freedom, even our right to develop new technology." The Russian representative leaned forward. "And what choice do we have? Their fleet could glass our cities from orbit. We've all seen the footage from the Centauri colonies." Walker cleared his throat. All eyes turned to him. "There is another option," he said quietly. In the tense silence, his words carried to every corner of the room. "Project Reckoning is ready." Whispers erupted around the chamber. Most of the council knew about the project only as rumors. A warship built in secret, combining stolen Dominion technology with human innovation. What they didn't know was how different it was from anything humanity or the Dominion had ever created. The UN Secretary-General's face looked gray in the artificial light. "You're certain it's combat-ready, Captain?" "As ready as it will ever be," Walker replied. "My crew has run every possible simulation. The AI is fully integrated, and the hybrid systems are functioning beyond our initial projections." He didn't mention the nights he'd spent watching test data, wondering if they'd created something they couldn't control. The Chinese representative spoke up. The Dominion's message was clear. Any sign of military response will trigger immediate planetary bombardment. Walker allowed himself a small smile. "They'd have to see us first." He pressed a button on his tablet, and the main screen filled with technical data. The HMS Reckoning doesn't just have stealth capabilities. It can hide in plain sight, bend light, and sensor readings in ways the Dominion's systems aren't designed to detect. We took their own tech and did something they never imagined possible. The room grew quiet as he continued. "We have a crew of 50 volunteers, the best Earth has to offer. Engineers who can think on their feet, pilots who've flown everything from atmosphere scrapers to asteroid miners. And we have something the Dominion doesn't understand: the desperate creativity of a species fighting for survival. And if you fail," the Indian representative's voice shook slightly. "Then we fail fighting," Walker answered. "But I don't intend to fail. The Reckoning may look like a warship, but it's humanity's entire history of warfare distilled into metal and energy. We've learned from every battle ever fought on Earth. While they rely on overwhelming force, we've built a ship that can adapt, think, and fight in ways they've never seen." The Secretary-General stood slowly. "The vote must be unanimous. We all know what's at stake." She looked around the room. "All in favor of authorizing Project Reckoning." Hands rose one by one. Even the most hesitant members knew they had run out of options. The Dominion had pushed humanity into a corner, never expecting them to have hidden claws. Walker's tablet beeped. The launch codes were being transmitted. In the depths of the Pacific, systems began powering up. He thought of his brother, lost in the Dominion's first demonstration attack on the Mars colony. This wasn't about revenge, he told himself. This was about survival. "Captain Walker," the Secretary-General's voice pulled him back to the present. "You have your authorization. May God help us all." He saluted sharply and turned to leave. As the chamber doors closed behind him, Walker allowed himself to feel the weight of what was coming. Humanity had spent its entire history fighting itself, developing weapons and tactics, learning to overcome superior forces through cunning and innovation. Now, all of that knowledge had been poured into one vessel. The Dominion thought they were dealing with simple primitives who would bow down before superior technology. They were about to learn just how wrong they were. In less than 24 hours, the HNS Reckoning would show the galaxy why you should never corner a species that had perfected the art of war. The elevator descended for what felt like hours. Captain Walker watched the depth counter tick past numbers that shouldn't have been possible. Next to him, Dr. Thomas Reed clutched his tablet, knuckles white. The chief engineer had spent the last 5 years of his life building something that should not exist. The doors opened to reveal humanity's greatest secret. The HMS Reckoning floated in a massive underground dock, its dark hull drinking in the light. It didn't look like other ships, human or alien. Where Dominion vessels were all sharp angles and threat, the Reckoning seemed to flow like water frozen in mid-splash. "Beautiful, isn't she?" Reed said softly. "Even after all this time, I still can't believe we built her." Walker nodded as they walked toward the ship. "How are the final checks going?" "The quantum shields are holding at 150% of projected capacity," Reed replied, his excitement breaking through his professional tone. "We cracked something the Dominion never thought of. Their shields try to stop things from getting in. Ours adapt and learn." They reached the main airlock, where Lieutenant Maria Torres waited. The tactical officer had been a fighter pilot before the Dominion forced humanity to ground their aerospace fleet. "All crew are aboard except us," she reported. "The AI is running final system checks." Inside, the ship hummed with power. The corridors were cramped compared to Dominion ships, every inch of space used for something. What looked like normal wall panels could transform into repair stations or weapon ports. The whole ship could reshape itself inside, another trick that had taken years to perfect. The bridge wasn't what aliens would expect. Instead of a large command center, it was a tight room with 5 acceleration couches. Each crew member would plug directly into the ship's systems, becoming part of its neural network. At the center, Walker's command couch waited, looking more like a medical pod than a captain's chair. "Good evening, Captain Walker," a calm voice said from hidden speakers. The ship's AI had chosen a neutral tone, neither male nor female. "All systems are operating at optimal levels. The crew is settling into their stations." Walker sat in his couch, feeling the neural connectors adjust to his spine. "Show me," he ordered. The bridge disappeared. He floated in a sphere of information, seeing through every camera and sensor on the ship. The crew appeared as bright points of light in his mind, each one linked to their stations. The AI was a constant presence, like a soft breeze carrying data. "Power systems are unique," Reed explained, his voice coming from everywhere and nowhere in the virtual space. "We don't just use Dominion tech, we improved it. Their ships are powerful but predictable. We built something that can think and adapt." Walker moved through the ship with his mind, checking each system. The weapons weren't just guns and missiles. They were a combination of everything humanity had learned about killing, refined, and perfected. The armor could shift its molecular structure to absorb or deflect energy. Even the ship's shape could change slightly, helping it slip through space like a fish through water. "Lieutenant Torres, show me the tactical simulations," Walker ordered. The space around him changed. He watched as virtual versions of the ship fought against Dominion fleets. The Reckoning didn't try to match the aliens' power. It fought like a guerrilla warrior, using stealth and surprise. Its weapons were designed to find weak points that the Dominion didn't know they had. "We have everything they know," Torres said proudly, "and everything they don't know they should fear." Human warfare isn't about being biggest or strongest. It's about being smartest. The neural link hummed with power as the AI joined their conversation. "All crew members are now connected to the network. We are operating as a single unit. Efficiency is 23% higher than our best simulation." Walker felt the truth of those words. Through the neural net, he could sense his crew's determination, their focus. 50 minds working as one, guided by an AI that understood human creativity in ways its creators hadn't expected. They had built more than a warship. They had built humanity's ultimate expression of the art of war. "Time to show the Dominion what they've awakened," Walker said. Above them, massive doors began to open. The Pacific Ocean waited, and beyond that, space. Begin launch sequence. Let's remind the galaxy why humans were never meant to be backed into a corner. The HMS Reckoning hummed to life, ready to change the course of history. The Dominion fleet hung in space near Saturn's rings, their ships black against the golden planet. 30 warships, each one large enough to hold a small city. They had no reason to worry about stealth or tactics. Their technology was superior, their victory assured. Humans were primitives who had barely reached their own moon when the Dominion found them. The HMS Reckoning slipped between Saturn's rings, ice particles hiding its approach. Through the neural link, Walker felt his crew's tension, their controlled breathing, their readiness. The AI monitored everything, making tiny adjustments to keep them hidden. Their admiral is sending another message to Earth, Lieutenant Torres reported, her consciousness flowing through the ship's communication systems. They're getting impatient. Walker smiled in the virtual space they all shared. Let's introduce ourselves then. Target their smallest ship first. Show them something new. The Reckoning moved like a shark, sleek and deadly. Its hull shifted color to match the space around it, a trick that had taken years to perfect. The smallest Dominion ship floated at the edge of their formation, its crew probably bored with guard duty. Weapons ready, Torres thought through the link. The ship's unusual arsenal hummed to life. Not the brute force energy weapons the Dominion used, but something that Earth's weapon designers had dreamed up after studying alien technology. Fire, Walker commanded. The Reckoning's main gun didn't fire a beam or missile. Instead, it sent out a pulse that copied the Dominion's own shield frequency, then reversed it. The target's shields didn't just fail. They collapsed inward, crushing the ship like a giant hand. Before the wreckage had stopped spinning, the Reckoning was already moving to its next target. Alarms screamed across the Dominion fleet. Their neat formation broke apart as ships turned, trying to find their attacker. But the Reckoning was already somewhere else, its adaptive hull making it nearly invisible against the stars. Multiple targeting locks, the AI warned. Dominion ships are launching fighter squadrons. Walker felt Reed's excitement through the neural link. Show them what else we can do, the engineer thought. The Reckoning's hull rippled. What looked like smooth metal became hundreds of small ports. Each one launched a tiny drone, smaller than a human fist. The Dominion fighters ignored them, focusing on trying to find the main ship. That was their mistake. The drones swarmed like angry bees, each one carrying a tiny version of the shield breaker pulse. Dominion fighters began dropping out of space, their shields turned against them. The larger ships tried to help, but their weapons were designed to hit big targets, not tiny drones that moved like insects. Their admiral is ordering them to form a defensive sphere, Torres reported. They're scared. Good. Walker directed the ship toward the fleet's new formation. Time to show them why they should be. The Reckoning charged straight at the Dominion fleet, no longer hiding. Its hull shifted from stealth black to bright, gleaming silver, impossible to miss. The enemy ships opened fire, energy beams cutting through space. But the Reckoning's quantum shields adapted with each hit, learning, changing, growing stronger. Hull integrity at 98%, the AI reported calmly. Shield efficiency increasing with each impact. The Dominion weapons are becoming less effective. Walker felt the ship's joy in battle, an echo of his crew's fierce pride. They weren't just surviving, they were winning. Humanity's greatest weapon wasn't the shield breaker or the adaptive hull. It was their ability to take an enemy's strength and turn it into a weakness. 3 more Dominion ships fell to the shield breaker pulse. The others began to retreat, their formation breaking apart. On their command channels, panic replaced arrogance. They had expected to find primitive humans cowering in fear. Instead, they had found something that hunted their ships like prey. They're sending a distress call to their high command, Torres reported, satisfaction clear in her thoughts. The mighty Dominion is running from one human ship. Through the neural link, Walker felt his crew's triumph, their fierce joy. The AI shared data showing the battle's results. 5 Dominion ships destroyed, 12 damaged, not a single hit on the Reckoning. But more importantly, they had shattered the Dominion's image of invincibility. "Let them run," Walker commanded. "Let them tell others what happened here. The galaxy needs to know that humanity is done being pushed around." The HMS Reckoning hung in space, its silver hull reflecting Saturn's light. The message was clear. The hunters had become the hunted, and the galaxy would never be the same. News spread through the galaxy faster than light. On 1,000 worlds, beings gathered around communication terminals, watching grainy footage of the battle near Saturn. They saw a silver ship dancing through space, making the mighty Dominion fleet look clumsy and slow. Hope, an emotion many had forgotten, began to stir. The HMS Reckoning hid in the dust clouds of the Kuiper Belt, its crew processing their victory. Through the neural link, Walker watched sensor data from across the solar system. The Dominion was pulling ships from every corner of their empire, forming the largest fleet seen in a century. "They're afraid," Lieutenant Torres said, her thoughts tinged with satisfaction. "Look at their communication patterns. Every ship is broadcasting on guard frequencies. They've never had to worry about being hunted before." Dr. Reed's consciousness merged with the ship's engineering systems, checking their status. "Shield efficiency is now 30% higher than our original design. The AI has adapted our defenses based on their attack patterns. Every time they hit us, we get stronger." The AI's calm voice joined their linked minds. "Incoming transmission, heavily encrypted. Origin appears to be the Arcturian sector." Walker gave the mental command to open the channel. A face appeared in their shared virtual space. Alien, with gray-green skin and large eyes. One of the first species the Dominion had conquered centuries ago. "Brave humans," the alien spoke in careful English. "We watched. We saw. For the first time in 500 years, we saw the Dominion bleed." The alien paused, looking over its shoulder. "Others will contact you. Many species remember freedom. Many want to help." The transmission cut off, but it was only the first. Over the next few hours, messages poured in from across Dominion space. Some offered technical data about Dominion fleet movements. Others shared secrets about weaknesses in Dominion ships, flaws that their builders had grown too proud to fix. "Their entire empire is built on fear," Torres realized, sorting through the messages. "No one ever fought back because they thought it was impossible. We showed them it's not." Walker felt a ripple of amusement from the AI. Analyzing Dominion fleet movements suggests they are executing Emergency Protocol 7. They have never needed to use it before. Their response is inefficient. The crew watched through the ship's sensors as massive Dominion warships jumped into the solar system. 50 ships, then 100, then 200. They moved in a tight formation, weapons charged, shields overlapping. They were taking no chances with the ship that had humiliated them. "They're burning through their fuel reserves to get here so fast," Reed observed. "Their ships weren't designed for this kind of rapid deployment. Look at their power readings. They're pushing their reactors too hard." Walker absorbed the tactical data flowing through the neural link. The Dominion was making mistakes, breaking their own rules in their rush to crush the human threat. They didn't understand that they were fighting a different kind of war now. "New transmission," the AI announced. From Earth. The UN Security Council appeared in their shared vision. Their faces showed a mix of hope and worry. "Captain Walker, the Dominion has issued new demands. They're offering to spare Earth if we hand over the Reckoning and its technology." Walker let his crew feel his response before he spoke. Their shared determination flowed through the neural link, humans and AI united in purpose. "Tell them no. The Reckoning isn't just a ship. It's proof that they can be beaten. The galaxy needs that hope." Through their sensors, they watched the Dominion fleet spread out, trying to create a net that no ship could escape. But they still fought in old ways, still played by rules that humans had learned to break centuries ago. "They're hunting a warship," Walker said to his crew, feeling their anticipation build. "But we're not just a warship. We're every battle humanity ever fought, every trick we ever learned, every time we beat a stronger enemy by being smarter and more creative." The Reckoning's hull began to shift, changing from silver to the deep black of space. In the virtual command space, Walker felt his crew's fierce grins matching his own. The Dominion had come looking for a fight. They were about to get one they'd never forget. 3 weeks had passed since the first battle, and the Dominion's mighty empire was learning what it meant to feel fear. The HMS Reckoning struck like lightning, appearing from nowhere, destroying supply ships and communication relays, then vanishing before the response fleets arrived. Through the neural link, Walker felt his crew growing more confident with each raid. 6 more ships dropped out of formation, Lieutenant Torres reported, her consciousness flowing through their sensor systems. They watched a Dominion patrol group trying to protect a fuel depot near Alpha Centauri. Their crews are exhausted. They've been at battle stations for days. The AI's presence rippled through their shared mental space. Their tactical responses have become 47% less efficient since our campaign began. They do not adapt well to prolonged stress. Walker studied the patrol group through the ship's sensors. The Dominion ships stayed close together, weapons ready, jumping at shadows. They had never learned how to handle fear. Their empire had been too powerful for too long. "Show them something new," Walker commanded. The Reckoning's hull transformed, taking on the exact appearance of a Dominion heavy cruiser. It was more than just a visual trick. The ship copied their energy signatures, their shield frequencies, even the subtle vibrations of their engines. Another innovation the Dominion had never imagined possible. They slipped into the patrol formation as if they belonged there. Through the neural link, Walker felt Reed's pride in their ship's performance. Perfect mimicry, the engineer thought. They can't tell us from their own ships. The Reckoning waited until it was in the middle of the formation. Then its hull rippled, shedding the Dominion disguise like water. Before the enemy could react, the ship's new weapons fired. Not the shield breaker this time, but something worse. Thin beams of energy struck each Dominion ship, carrying a virus that the AI had created. Their computer systems crashed, leaving them blind and powerless. The mighty warships drifted in space, their crews trapped inside. Broadcasting on their emergency channel, Torres announced with satisfaction, letting them know their crews have 1 hour to reach the escape pods before life support fails. The AI added its own analysis. Tactical pattern updated. The Dominion now faces a choice between abandoning damaged ships or losing crews. Either option reduces their effective combat strength. Through the ship's long-range sensors, they watched the ripple effects of their attacks spread across Dominion space. Supply lines were breaking down. Ships refused to travel alone. Some crews even fled rather than face the silver ghost that haunted their space. "New intelligence from our allies," Torres reported. The resistance movements on conquered worlds were growing bolder, feeding them information about Dominion movements. The Arcturians have started sabotaging Dominion repair yards. The Centaurians are blocking their fuel shipments. Walker felt a change in the AI's presence in their shared neural space. It had been evolving, growing beyond its original programming as it learned from each battle. "I have analyzed all available data," it announced. The Dominion's response patterns show increasing signs of systemic failure. They cannot adapt quickly enough to our changes in tactics. Through their sensors, they watched another Dominion patrol, this one protecting a vital communication hub. These ships moved differently, more cautiously, more intelligently. They had finally started learning. "They're getting better," Walker observed. "Time to show them our best trick yet." The Reckoning's hull began to change again, but this time it didn't mimic a Dominion ship. Instead, it seemed to fracture into dozens of smaller pieces, each one a perfect copy of their ship. The drone swarm they'd used before had evolved, becoming something new and terrifying. Mirror formation, Walker commanded. Through the neural link, the crew and AI worked as one, controlling the swarm of phantom ships. Each one could fire weapons, generate shields, and move independently. The Dominion would never know which one was real until it was too late. The enemy patrol scattered in panic. They had finally started to learn, but humans have been learning faster. Every defeat taught the Reckoning new tricks. Every victory made them stronger. Send the usual message, Walker told Tories. The same words they broadcast after every raid. Remember this. You chose this war. We're just better at fighting it. The Reckoning vanished into the darkness between stars, leaving behind another group of broken ships and shattered Dominion pride. The Hunters had become the masters of fear, and their legend was growing with every strike. The space around Alpha Centauri lit up like a new sun as 500 Dominion warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel at once. At their center flew the Imperial Dreadnought, a ship larger than some moons. The Dominion had finally sent their supreme commander, Admiral Vex, to end the human threat personally. In the HNS Reckoning's neural space, Walker and his crew watched the massive fleet take position. The AI's presence felt different now, deeper and more alive after months of combat and evolution. They'd brought everything. Torres thought, her consciousness streaming tactical data to the crew. Nearly half their total fleet strength. Their other borders are almost unprotected. Reed's thoughts carried a hint of excitement. Look at their formation. They're afraid of our phantom swarm trick. That's why they're packed so tight. They think numbers will save them. The AI's analysis flowed through their shared consciousness. The Dominion fleet's energy readings are unusual. They have modified their shields based on our previous attacks. However, this has created new vulnerabilities they have not considered. Walker studied the enemy fleet through the ship's sensors. The Dominion had learned from their defeats, but they still fought like conquerors, not survivors. They believed that enough guns and shields would overcome any trick. They had never understood that humanity's greatest weapon was its ability to think differently. All hands, Walker commanded through the neural link. This is the moment. Everything we've done has led to this. Show them why humanity never lost a war when our survival was at stake. The Reckoning burst from its hiding place in the system's asteroid belt, but not as a single ship. The phantom swarm technique had evolved. Now each copy could generate its own swarm, creating a cascade of mirrors that filled space like a school of silverfish. The Dominion fleet opened fire, their weapons turning space into a web of deadly energy. But they couldn't tell which ships were real and which were reflections. The Reckoning's true form slipped through their barrage, its quantum shields adapting and strengthening with each hit they absorbed. New tactic, Walker ordered. Show them what we learned from their own technology. The ship's hull began to glow with stored energy. For months, they had been absorbing and studying the Dominion's weapons fire. Now they knew how to turn that power back against them. The Reckoning released a pulse that matched the exact frequency of the Dominion's shield network. Enemy ships began to fall out of formation as their own shield energy turned inward. The tight formation they had thought would protect them became a weakness. Each failing shield triggered a cascade in the ships around it. Their admiral is trying to coordinate a response, Torres reported with fierce satisfaction. But their command network is breaking down. Too many ships are dropping offline at once. Through their sensors, they watched the Imperial Dreadnought turn its massive weapons toward them. Admiral Vex had apparently decided that if he couldn't save his fleet, he would at least destroy the ship that had humbled the Dominion. They're powering up their main gun, Reed warned. Energy readings are off the scale. The AI's presence surged through their neural link. I have completed analysis of their weapons system. There is a 93% chance we can use their own energy against them. However, we must time our response perfectly. Walker felt his crew's determination matching his own. They had trained for months for this moment. Human instincts and creativity combined with artificial precision and alien technology. It was time to show the galaxy what that combination could do. The Imperial Dreadnought fired. its beam bright enough to blind sensors across the system. But the reckoning was already moving, its hull configured into a new shape they had never shown before. The ship caught the enemy's energy beam like a mirror, curved it in an impossible arc, and sent it back. The massive dreadnought's shields couldn't handle their own weapon's power. Explosions rippled along its hull as overloaded systems failed. Around it, the remaining Dominion ships watched their invincible leader fall. Broadcasting on all frequencies, Walker commanded, "To all Dominion ships, you have seen what one human vessel can do. Imagine what will happen when we build more. Surrender now, or learn why species that fight for survival are the most dangerous of all." Space fell silent as the remaining Dominion ships faced a choice that would reshape the galaxy forever. 1 year after the Battle of Alpha Centauri, the HMS Reckoning glided into Earth orbit. Its silver hull caught the sunlight, sending bright reflections across the planet below. Through the neural link, Walker and his crew felt the changes in their ship. The AI had grown far beyond its original programming, becoming something new, just as humanity had become something new to the galaxy. "Look at that," Torres thought, her consciousness reaching through their sensors to observe the space around Earth. Ships from 24 alien species filled the orbit, their designs as varied as their cultures. Former slaves of the Dominion, now free to choose their own path. Reed's thoughts carried pride as he monitored the ships. They're all here to learn. Every one of those vessels has some piece of our technology now, shared freely, just like we promised. The AI's presence rippled through their shared neural space. The new Galactic Council station is now 89% complete. My calculations suggest it will become fully operational 3 weeks ahead of schedule. Cooperation between species has proven remarkably efficient. Walker watched through the ship's cameras as shuttles moved between the alien vessels and Earth. Scientists, diplomats, and traders from across the galaxy, all coming to the world that had shown them freedom was possible. The planet that had turned one warship into a revolution. "Message from the UN Security Council," Torres announced. "They're ready for the ceremony." The Reckoning descended through the atmosphere, its adaptive hull glowing slightly from the heat of re-entry. Below them, the Great Assembly Hall had been built in the ruins of the old UN building. Its architecture combined styles from Earth and a dozen alien worlds, a symbol of the new order they were building. Representatives from every freed species filled the hall. Some floated in environmental bubbles, others walked on many legs or slithered across the floor. But they all fell silent as Walker and his crew entered. The humans who had changed everything. The Secretary General stepped to the podium. 1 year ago, humanity faced extinction. We stood alone against an empire that had ruled the galaxy through fear for 1,000 years. We had one ship, one crew, one chance. She paused, looking at the assembled aliens. But we had something the Dominion never understood. The knowledge that species fight hardest when they're fighting for survival. Through the neural link, Walker felt his crew's memories of that year. The battles they'd fought, the tactics they'd invented, the moments when human creativity and AI precision had achieved the impossible. The Reckoning wasn't just a ship anymore. It was a symbol of what determination and innovation could accomplish. The Dominion taught the galaxy that strength came from power. The Secretary General continued, "Humanity is teaching a different lesson. True strength comes from cooperation, from sharing knowledge, from helping others rise instead of keeping them down." The AI spoke through the hall's speakers, its voice carrying the wisdom it had gained. The probability of another empire arising through force has dropped to less than 0.1%. Species that learn to work together become stronger than those who rule through fear. Walker stepped forward when called. The medal they gave him didn't matter. What mattered was seeing former Dominion slave species standing tall, building their own ships, choosing their own futures. Humanity hadn't just won a war. They had changed the rules of how species interacted. The HMS Reckoning will remain as a guardian, Walker announced to the assembly. Not to rule or control, but to remind everyone that the smallest species can overcome the greatest empire if they have the will and the creativity to try impossible things. As he spoke, screens around the hall showed images from across the galaxy. Former Dominion worlds where new cities rose, built with shared technology and cooperation. Space stations where different species worked together, combining their knowledge to solve problems that had puzzled them for centuries. The few surviving Dominion ships, now part of a joint defense fleet, their crews learning that protection was better than conquest. "We started with one ship," Walker said finally. "One crew who believed we could change things. Now look at us. Dozens of species, hundreds of worlds, all working together." The galaxy didn't just recover from the day humanity unleashed a warship. It became something better. The HMS Reckoning floated in orbit above them, its silver hull bright against the stars. It had been built as a weapon, but it had become something more. A reminder that the strongest power in the universe wasn't weapons or shields or massive fleets. It was the unstoppable force of people working together, fighting for a future where everyone could be free.